It's day 2 of the nationwide strike by nurses and midwives over conditions of service. Patients are bearing the brunt of the industrial action, which began yesterday. In the northeast region at the moment, JoyNews' Ilyasu Tanko reports a facility serving about 13 communities has been closed, leaving patients helpless. He spoke with some of the patients.
Babu Yoruba sunga ba za su tuma so mun ka lafiya malla BP
ka wula kayan nan pumpo
ka kuti nan mashin kana ayin nan man kaman ban yaddo atawa
ayepul kayina yimo kayina
yila wurko wana
kan kuma yepul kayan can
bayan do ata den za na ba za can la de strike so ya ko mi mayanin shi mun bugira
za ya ko biyara tuwa
an kana ka doctor nan kan mo wula kayan nan
kan to ne lamne be wula
tanon wula Allah ba a doroma wula kayan nan
wa na ni jati na kala fula wa da tanga kan ma ka guhaman tamatima la fula ba han korgo mu biken kamar lafna din yayi mi kayyana wai tam shati min kenan ka ba so bon te ni cikin hakan
blo bi haka mun cira ko pum bi haka bon shi cira ka ya ko hanya ko ma.
You're live on JoyNews today. Before we go to Ilyasu Tanko on the line, the first patient actually said that she's suffering bodily pains. She came to see a nurse and she's now going to a chemical store to get prescriptions. The second says that she's a BP patient. She's suffering from high blood pressure and she went for treatment, but she's told the nurses are not being paid, so they're on strike. So she's going back home to see how she can treat herself. Ilyasu himself has joined us on the line from the Vulugu Health Center in the West Mamprushi district of the Northeast region. It's a municipality of the Northeast region. So Ilyasu, earlier when we spoke to you, there was no one there. There was no health personnel there. There were just a handful of patients. Has the situation changed?
No, Daniel, the situation has not changed. People still come in. The point is that many people in these rural areas are not even aware the situation. They are not aware nurses are on strike, and so they continue to come in on motorbikes and on tricycles. But there's nobody here to attend to them, and they are forced to go back. I've been here for several moments, and people continue to come in from different localities. As you rightly said, particular facilities serve about 13 other communities, and some of the communities, the road networks are bad, they do not have electricity, no information flow, and so they come in with no knowledge of what is going on, only to be told that nurses are on strike, and so a lot more of them are stranded, and they are now resorting to drugstores for their prescriptions.
So typically, how far do these people have to travel to get to the Vulugu Health Center?
For instance, the person that I spoke to, he came with a child, and they said the child was having stomach pains. They travel from Kurgu, which is about 25 kilometers, but the road is very bad. Others are also coming from Ville, which is one of the cut-off communities, and they have to wade through the flooded waters before they are able to reach this particular communities. And so even some of them, even though some of the communities are not far from this, the Vulugu Center, but because of the road, the nature of the road is extremely bad, and there's no any kind of transportation there, so they have to come on motorbikes, they have to come on tricycles, and it's just a difficult situation.
And it's almost disheartening to hear you say, Ilyasu, that some of these people are facing a double tragedy with their homes devastated by floodwaters and also them being unable to access medical care because of the strike.
Yes, exactly. Their houses have been sitting in water for more than 2 weeks now. Their roads have been cut off. Their bridges have been flooded. And it's very difficult for them to move from their communities. And so when they get sick, they try all means to come to these particular nearby communities to seek healthcare. But unfortunately, the situation is that nurses are not there and they have to go back. I can tell you that most of them are now resorting to traditional healers. Of course, that is the main source of, health care for some of them. And so most of them are now relying on these traditional healers and the drug stores for their prescriptions.
Very unfortunate situation in the Northeast region. In the Ashanti region capital of Kumasi, Nana Aljima of our sister station Love FM has been to some health facilities in the metropolis and joins us live with more. Nana, what's the situation in the health centers you visited?
So, Daniel, let's start from the Princess Hospital, where this morning I visited, and at the Princess Hospital, the general ward and also the maternity services have been shut down in these areas because they, according to the medical superintendent, the nurses are very vital in providing these services. So when they gave them prior notice that they will be embarking on this strike action, they had to limit the number of admissions they do so that when the strike action starts, they wouldn't be in much of a challenge. So the two people who were in the ward when the strike action started yesterday were referred to other private facilities. The whole of the maternity unit is shut down. No nurse to attend to the people who come in there. So people come, they see the situation, and they leave. At Konfanoche Teaching Hospital, the situation is just like elsewhere in the country. The people or the patients are there to seek healthcare services, but nurses who facilitate the process are not there. But the doctors are stepping in, doing the job of nurses, so they are multitasking in all these areas.
Okay.
So I've been speaking to some of the doctors, and they tell me it's been very tedious, and it delays or slows the process.
Now, so you were telling me that because of this, it's become more tedious, more difficult. But how are the patients taking it? For instance, how many are they able to serve at a time? Make that picture clearer for us. No.
I couldn't hear you very well, but I think you're asking about how the patients are managing.
Yeah.
So the process has slowed down. Some people came as early as 6 a.m., but at 10 a.m., around 10 a.m., they hadn't been taken care of. They hadn't received the service they came for. So the absence of these nurses and the multitasking that the doctors are doing is slowing the pace. The patients are not happy with it, but since doctors have dedicated themselves to work even without these nurses, they will have to be okay with the service they are being provided and comply with the various instructions they are being given.
Daniel, thank you. Let's go to the Volta regional capital. Ivy Setoji reports there was not a single nurse at the whole teaching and municipal hospitals. Ivy has joined us with more. Ivy, this is the major hospital in Ho, isn't it?
Yes, please. So, Ho Teaching Hospital is the major hospital as well as the municipal hospital. But when I visited there earlier, I left there a while ago. I went there twice. There were no nurses at this hospital. The OPD is empty. No nurses were found. And I tried talking to some of the patients who wouldn't want to talk on camera, but said they are being turned away to private hospitals in the area. The same thing applies to other hospitals in the region, southern and other parts of the region. And now, a doctor I spoke to said that it is worrying for nurses to regard money more important than human beings. But at his hospital, he was able to convince 2 nurses to take care of babies who are currently on oxygen and some pregnant women who have to undergo some surgeries, and that there was no way he could send these patients or ask them to go to other hospitals. So this is the situation. No nurses were found in some of these hospitals we visited.
Ivy Sesoji, thank you very much for that update. Let's come back to the Greater Accra Regional Hospital, where doctors are picking up extra roles to contain the situation. Medical Director at the facility, Dr. Emmanuel Srofenyo, says the measure is unsustainable and wants governments to promptly settle issues with the striking nurses.
As I said earlier on, the kind of situation we have now is not sustainable. So we are only pleading on government to bring their good offices to bear so that this strike is averted, so that it will not lead to any loss of life or loss of maybe increased morbidity. The kind of system we are running cannot be the way to go. It cannot be the routine. It cannot become the routine. It can't really go that far. It cannot be the routine because then the doctors are being stretched. Let me give you one example. We have just about 150 doctors, but we have 700 nurses. And so when those 700 nurses are not there, the doctors cannot run their normal duty and then now come and take over the nursing functions. It is not possible because looking at even the numbers, assuming they could do, but looking at the numbers that have gone away, that is this hospital alone, do you see? So even the figures alone should tell us that the situation cannot be the way to go into the future. So sooner or later, we are only pleading that government will come into some kind of solution with the feeding staff so that they can resume. Nurses are clinicians who are providing service at the front line. And so when you talk about the criticalness of the situation, this situation is more critical than the previous one. And so we are not praying for a similar situation that happened in the past, that this thing will drag on for 2 months. It will really be a huge blow to the health system in this critical moment.
You're still live on JoyNews today with me, Daniel Dazi. We wrap up on this story having to do with the nurses' strike by hearing the Deputy Minister for Employment and Labour Relations, Bright Rekobrobe, who, well, we'll hear from the Deputy Minister very shortly, but first let's hear from some patients at that facility.
Okay, I'm coming here all the way from Amasaman through this heavy traffic to be here and just to hear that only one doctor would be available after waiting about 3 or 4 hours now. Only one doctor, and if your case isn't that severe, maybe you don't have anything showing you should go home, then you have to wait and see just one doctor in this big hospital. So I'm just going to take my lab and return home. And my case too needs immediate attention, but per what's happening, I can't be here for the whole day. And I don't even think I'll see the doctor because the number is large here.
But you didn't know that the nurses were on strike?
No, I didn't know. I heard about it yesterday. I was here, but I thought because it was holiday, that's why the place was not quite active. But today, it's like it's active and there are no nurses. That's why I came, and I'm coming for my lab to see the doctor. I was scheduled on 22nd, and they are not there.
So what are you going to do?
Maybe I'll go home and see a private doctor because they are saying, so we hear the nurses are back. And I don't know when.
Yesterday was holiday, so because of that, I should come on Tuesday. That is why I'm here this morning. So unfortunately, when I came for the lab test, I came so that the nurses would direct me to the doctor. But unfortunately, when I came, they said nurses are on strike. So because of that, if I'm having the lab report, I should go to the house. Then wait till the day that nurses will resume back to work. Then I will come. And they said only those on critical cases can wait and then hold on. A doctor will come and then attend to them. That's what they told us. So I'm waiting. If the doctor come and then they will attend to me. No, please. I just want to hold on and then see whether I'll be able to see the doctor, because they told me to come on Tuesday because yesterday was a holiday.
If you don't see the doctor, what you do?
Oh, please, I'll go back to the house.
Coming from?
I'm coming from Mama Sama.
Mama Sama, okay, what are you going to do?
I'm going to come and look my child at Ridge Hospital.
Okay.
I've heard it, but the doctors are looking at us. They are looking after us, but we didn't see any nurse there.
So you want the nurses to come back?
Yes, we want them to come back. Thank you.
You're live on Joy News today. This is your election headquarters. Now, the Okada Riders Association of Ghana has described the New Patriotic Party's stance against the legalization of commercial motorcycle operations as sheer dishonesty. According to them, the MPP and its flag bearer, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, have been inconsistent since the debate about legalizing the Okada became topical. The group says the Vice President, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia's promise of rolling out a policy to enable them swap their motorcycles with VW cars is a clear indication that the MPP does not appreciate the need to legalize the Okada trade. The Deputy National Coordinator of the group, Kweku Kate Nathaniel, was speaking at a news conference to react to the political party's manifesto on the legalization and regulation of Okada at Achim Afosu in the Eastern region. Correspondent Kofi Siao joins us live with more. Kofi, help us understand this. These guys don't believe government will give them cars.
Yes, that is what they have been telling the media. According to them, they promised by the vice president, if you listen to them well, they say it is very laughable because he says this is somebody they cannot trust. That is what the Deputy General Secretary says. And they don't believe the NPP has the welfare of the Okada riders at heart. That is what he has been saying, because he says that since the debate became topical, the NPP has come out to... Hello?
Kofi, you're on air.
Okay, so they are saying that they do not believe what the MPP have been saying, and that they rather believe what the NDC flag bearer, John Dramani Mahama, has been talking about in recent times. They believe that his comments with regards to the fact that when he becomes president again, he's going to legalize the trade is a step in the right direction. And they are calling on all and sundry, their family members and everybody to support President John Mahama's bid of becoming the president of this country again.
Right. Do we know any more about this group and the particular members that met there? Do we know anything more about them?
Well, these are this is a group that has its membership across the country. That is what they say. They are young men. If you look at their ages, it's between the age of 18 to, let's say, 40 years. And they claim that they have well over 10,000 members across the country.
How large was this gathering, Kofi?
Well, I could count not less than 300 motorbikes at the place where the press conference was held.
That's a lot of motorbikes. Kofi, thank you very much for joining us this afternoon with those updates. This is still your election headquarters, and the Vice President, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, has joined residents of the Oti region capital, Dambai, to inaugurate the Regional House of Chiefs. The inauguration has become necessary following the creation of the region on the 15th of May 2019 after a referendum in 2017. He urged members of the Oti Regional House of Chiefs to uphold the law in order to bring development to their people. He urged the members to also judiciously administer lands properly in order to ensure peace and stability in their respective areas. He urged the chiefs to join the clarion call to speak up against the ills of society. Peter Senu was at that gathering, and he's joined us with more. Peter, what more can you report?
Yeah, as you have rightly said, the Vice President is here. He's now addressing the chiefs and people outside. The earlier one was the inauguration of the Regional House of Chiefs indoor. So he's now speaking to them outside. But what he's been speaking to briefly is that he's happy to be part of history, adding that the desire for the people, for the region to be created started since 1954, and when most of them were not given birth to. And that since it's also part of the MPP's 2016 manifesto, they have fulfilled that, and that is part to be part of history. And going forward, he also touted the achievements of the MPP government since 2017 till now. You can mention the one district, one factory, one village, one dam, the implementation of the free SHS policy. And so that is about that. And he also said government is committed to what? To ensuring inclusive government, and then accelerated one, of course. And so the region would have its fair share. And I'm talking about a delivery tracker. The Vice President said Ghana is the only country in Africa to have a delivery tracker. And that while going through this morning, he realized that Oti region has had its fair share of developmental projects, and that chiefs and people in the region must consider this and give the government 4 more years to do more for the region. And so this is what has been, asking the chiefs and people to consider so far, and that the government has also released 3.5 million cedis to the National House of Chiefs to complete the office complex in Kumasi. And so he's been doing that, and then a little of politics so far in the region. From here, we'll move to the grounds proper, where we'll cut short for the construction of the office complex for the Regional House of Chiefs. Daniel.
What's the response of the chiefs been?
Well, the chiefs, for them, they said that the worst divorce they've seen so far is the separation from the Volta region, and that whether by magic or wherever the Vice President will get the money from, they would need 2 million cedi seed capital as a start, and that they could invest that and use the proceeds to run the affairs of the House of Chiefs. And so, well, they are happy, and that they wouldn't want to meddle in politics, but the people responded that for this, it means that the MPP government will have 4 more years to do more, as they say. Daniel.
Peter, thank you very much for those updates. Former President John Dramani Mahama has ended his 4-day campaign tour of the Bono East region. The NDC flag bearer addressed Nananom and party faithfuls in the 11 constituencies of the newly created region, assuring them of his commitments to improve various sectors of the economy with much emphasis on agriculture. Here's a wrap from correspondent Anas Sabit, who has been on the ground for us.
First, the former President John Dramani Mahama began his tour of the newly created region with a courtesy call on the Omahini of the Amantin Traditional Council, where he promised to upgrade the Amantin Health Center into a polyclinic when voted into office.
I said 2016, Abraham and Yaman Someday I'm here to talk about Amantin. I'm a car. More health center myself. Say Madam, not the Mampinia. We health center, have a polyclinic.
He then proceeded to KJG in the Sini East district, where he addressed a deba of chiefs and party faithfuls. Here, the Omahini of the Nkomi traditional area, Nana Osuri Sunkwa Kurunku II, called on the former president to, amongst others, construct a hospital for the predominantly farming community.
Your Excellency, we thank you for the numerous cheap compounds and other health facilities provided by your previous government. Looking at the population, location and size of the district, we shall be grateful if a hospital and more cheap compound can be put for the district.
Hi, good afternoon. Welcome to Business. My name is Daryl Kwao. Vodafone Ghana has welcomed the decision by the National Communications Authority, NCA, to ensure there is healthy competition for all operators. Vodafone says this would encourage innovation in the sector. The NCA has been in a standoff with the market leader MTN over the request to limit subscriber base of the network operator through the implementation of a market dominance position. Chief Executive of Vodafone Ghana, Patricia Obonai, in an interview with Bloomberg News, said this would help consumers at the end of the day.
Well, for us, the law makes provision for the regulator to ensure a level playing field for all operators in the country. For us, it is important that there's equal space, there's no negative competition. We don't have any major objections as long as the actions that are taken by the regulator is helping the consumer, is stimulating innovation, and is creating creativity in the industry. So we're very open to the decision.
Ghana's economy contracted because of the pandemic, but if you look at services from telecoms, they actually increased. How has the pandemic affected demand for your services?
Well, the first one has been the surge in data traffic. And the increased demand for network infrastructure and connectivity. We've seen traffic go up by about 50%. And so we've had to expand capacity to manage this as much as possible. Also focusing on critical mission states and systems like the health, like education, and making sure we can support a more safe and more resilient and more future-proof network. That's for us as important. I think the second one has been the acceleration in digital. So we have been on the journey to drive digital adoption, but today we have seen significant increase in opportunity for not just our businesses, but also for the small scale and medium enterprises. So we've had to increase more digital wallets, enable cashless payments, deliver financial services.
Well, let's talk about the Executive Council of the Ghana FA, whose members have decided to donate all of their allowances for the month of September to the victims of the unfortunate accident that happened in the Ashanti region that claimed the lives of 6 juvenile players and injuring a few more.
Let's think about the kids. Let's pray for those who got injured to recover first of all. Let's look at how we'll be able to make them useful and bring them back into society. Because sometimes when people go through such, traumatic situations, it's difficult for you to work on their psyche, their mentality, and make them accept that it is not their fault. And so that is the secondary phase, or that is the second phase of the situation. It's sad though to wake up on a Saturday morning and kids, with so much potential would leave home and not return. It's very, very unfortunate, but we will just put it behind us and pray for those who are at the various hospitals to recover. And once they recover, we will see. It's possible maybe there are those who cannot play again. So what do you do in the absence of football? There are those who can play again. How do you prepare them to bring them back into the game? These are things we will do going forward.
All right, so that's it for sport for now. I'll bring you some more at 2 p.m. on Sports Today. In the meantime, JoyNews Today continues with world news coming up next, where a Nigerian commander named as Colonel DC Bako has died after an ambush on his convoy. That comes up very shortly. Now, that's it for sport for now. My name is Nathaniel Atto, and I have love for sport.
Good afternoon, welcome to Showbiz here on JoyNews Today. Now, gospel musician Kwesi Otain has been defending President Akufo-Addo's decision to build the National Cathedral. Speaking on Daybreak Hits with Andy Dusty, he said Ghanaians must learn to support initiatives like this rather than questioning and running it down.
The thing is that an edifice has begun to be built. And you don't know the interest or the priorities of any new government. And so let the person that has started have the capacity to finish it.
So you prefer that to the recording studios?
The recording studios, we have too many recording studios in TOT. Listen to my argument very well. I believe that, you see, there come a time that you can say that who are the best 50 top producers in Ghana? Let's give them $100,000 each.
Okay.
All right, to set up state-of-the-art
to upgrade
recording studios. Record 50 new artists that you see are talented for free for this money that I'm giving you.
Yes.
Record it for free every month. Release that and have a tagline. Something tagline, the way they put highly spiritual or something inside. Put it inside and let everybody know that this project has done this particular thing and do it for people. So that studio, you have it there, but have a system that 50 people can record every month and they come, you choose them that this, and this.